This is episode 6 of the How to Black Border Every Single Map series, and it is Expert Chimps time. This is going to be the complete strategy guide going into Expert Chimps and everything around it. Now, if you want to check out the other episodes to lead up to Expert Chimps, it's all going to be in the pinned comment, and a lot of the aspects and concepts talked about there will be brought up in this episode. But moving on, this will not only get you all black borders, but it is the same strategies and tips that high skill players like me use to beat crazy challenges, such as this challenge right here, which is Cornfield Chimps 2 Mega Pops with Quincy, and this other crazy one with Workshopping 85,000 cash bear using Glaive Lord. So let's just get right into it right now. Jumping right into it, I'm going to be looking first at the context and objectives in this episode. The first is going to be the expert maps, and then the differences from advanced to expert. Strategy 1, starting expert. Strategy 2, looking at all maps. Strategy 3, then moving on to making your own expert strat. Strategy 4, optimizing. Strategy 5, an overview and a party time. Starting off with the expert maps, you'll notice I have expert in quotation marks, and that's because not all maps are obviously built the same. If you look at these 3 maps, you'll notice that 2 of them are significantly harder than the other one, even though they're both in the intermediate category. Some would say Shoots and even Rake would be advanced, while Streambed obviously isn't hard as the other ones. Now, some people will disagree on which maps to exclude or include when looking at expert to true expert, but for the sake of it, I'm just going to be going by this list. For the expert maps that will be excluded, Dark Castle and Inferno will be taken out, and for the advanced maps that will be included and going on for the rest of the experts, and then the true experts at the end, we're going to have Geared, Erosion, X Factor. These maps are much harder than the other advanced maps, so we'll count them as expert. And then for the other experts, we have Glacial Trail, Sanctuary, Flooded Valley, Workshop. And then the true experts, they take things a step further. We'll look at Dark Dungeons, Ravine, Bloody Puddles, Quad, Muddy Puddles, and then Ouch. So now that we know what the maps are, let's take a look and see how they are different on Chimps mode. So for part 2, let's take a look at the differences from advanced to expert. So just to start off, it's important to note that difficulty goes way up when it comes to taking an advanced map on Chimps to an expert map on Chimps. And then for true expert, it's even worse. So some things that you're going to need to expect when doing this is that just you can't get away with placing your random towers and a random strategy that really doesn't mean much of anything. So here's Super Brittle and Inferno Ring, Energizer strat, nah, that's not going to work. And you're going to need to use good synergies and a thoughtful strategy that uses your hero to its fullest as well. Moving on, know that same strategy won't work every time. You're going to have to know how to do multiple different things and diversify and learn the builds that you play. Furthermore, your strategy is going to depend greatly on what map you're playing. This is why that same strategy won't work every time. There are many more differences than these generalities that you will see, but I will have my own subject later on in the video for those, such as like round 100. The strategy-wise, methods and ideas from the previous episodes will help you out greatly, but with a new frustrating aspect for how hard some of these maps can be, here are some tips to help out with that. Play slowly and carefully. Don't have fast forward auto start on all of the time. Take a break when you need. You can pull out your iPod shuffle and spin it around if you need to. Rework your strategy if it doesn't work. The lost cause fallacy does come up quite a bunch of times. And then watch other players and test around for general ideas to see what other people are doing. And lastly, if you want the black borders, you are going to need to take the game a lot more seriously, and without copying guides, it won't be easy. So let's go into part 3, strategy 1.
Hello all Chom viewers, it's me, Frosty Mate. I am here today with a very nice expert map strategy, something that'll work on most expert maps, mind you, but you might have to shake it up a little bit. But we're going to be going for some Spirit of the Forest action today, and I'm going to show you exactly how to get there. One of the toughest maps, Ravine, where strategies can be a little bit restrictive. We're going to end up trying to make one of the better towers on it work. And we should be all good to start hitting our Druid of the Jungle, which is more often than not a big power spike on a lot of these expert maps, simply because it ends up dealing with a lot of problematic stuff that you really wouldn't be able to. A lot of expert maps have very tough sightlines, and Druid of the Jungle is a global tower, which means that it is incredibly valuable, especially in high density waves like this high Pierce wave on 27. It just means that it's invaluable against something like this. What would usually be a very tough wave, a very testing wave, is no longer an issue. And also Heartthorns, great upgrade as well, highly recommend it. For 28, allows you to actually beat it. 33 on the other hand, very bad outcome if you don't use a camo pot. So I'd use a camo pot on your Druid of the Jungle there and allow it to continue carrying. It's very good like that. So 34 is an interesting round. This is usually where the Zebra Bloons as well as high density rounds start appearing, so you want to end up pickling your Druid of the Jungle just to make sure that it maximizes the amount of damage that's coming through. The closer you can get the Druid of the Jungle vines to the start of this round here, the better. Simply because it allows you to end up racking up more damage. The more things that end up running over these vines, the better. So as you can see there, that allows multiple damage ticks to end up hitting the rainbow balloons there, splitting them into yellows, which make them a lot less deadly. Now for around like 36 here, we've got to do a little bit of a trick. Because our vine reload timing is not necessarily guaranteed for this round, we're going to glue the top of the wave. And as you can see, because of the vines ending up splitting there, if we leave the pinks to their own devices, they will quickly make their way to the exit, which is not good. Don't do that. So here we're going to afford a Jungle's Bounty, and this is going to carry us through the rest of the early game up to the Moab. As it turns out that having one vine was pretty good. What if we had two vines in, however? Now, one thing to note is for a lot of save-ups on other maps, you're not necessarily going to be able to get this before round 40. You may need to afford some other defense. It's just very optimal on this map simply because some of the lanes are very long and you're not as pressured to be able to do well. But I think you'll find here that you will be particularly fine with a early Jungle's Bounty. The main thing that you want to be very wary of is you want to be wary of trying to purchase any greedy upgrades outside of this. For example, you've got the option to try to end up purchasing a discount village here. I would recommend against it very highly. Instead, what I would recommend doing is just putting down a factory here. I would end up getting longer range smart spikes and bigger stacks. And from this spot, you've got a few decent options that you can go for if you're looking to try to clear everything up. But since our Jungle's Bounty is very good at clearing up remaining ceramics, we're just going to let it ride, and we're going to let this deal the majority of the damage. But what we are going to do is we're going to put a Maelstrom down just to try to get the rest of the damage done here. And when things end up splitting open, you'll see that the vines end up catching the other stuff that we need to catch there. And from that point, we're all good. Awesome. So we've got a few different options as to what we can go for here at this point. Typically we can end up going for a singular discount village, but I like going for double discounts more often than not, simply because it offers just a little bit more variety in terms of what you can go for. It also saves money on what other towers we're going to use to save up to. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it just around in this range right about here. Doesn't really matter if you end up reaching everything, because we're going to be getting another bit of range later on as well, thanks to our second discount village. Who would have thought? Boom. So we're going to just use this simple placement for the time being here. You'll end up getting bigger radius in a little bit. Doesn't matter if you end up hitting this or not, but 42 should be fairly simple for the most part. Boom. 43 on the other hand, a little bit less simple. We're just going to end up playing this one very safe. Just glue the top of the wave here. Same idea. Slow down the balloons, you end up racking up a whole bunch of Pierce on top here, you should be all good. So we get monkey business now, end up going for your larger radius. Ideally it ends up hitting your sniper, but if it doesn't, then no harm, no foul. Let this deal with 43 or 44. Again, there are certain particular rounds that you want to be very well aware of. This is not one of them. 45 is, however, as it's when the camo pot finally becomes useful again. Again, 46 can be a bit of a tough round, but we're just going to press the glue button. And that's kind of how this goes, is usually if you end up running into a tough round there, especially in the 1 to 50s range, just put a glue or two down and you should be all good to go. So let's finish off the rest of this here. Let's get our spike balls down just to make sure. Focus left side or right side balls first, simply because it ends up interacting with more lanes more frequently. It's got to deal with 3 sides here. This has to deal with 3 sides as well, but this is your first line of defense and is typically the thing that you will end up wanting to focus on more. Now you get a few different options here as to what you can do, but what I'm going to do just to show this off is I'm going to get bigger radius on this one, and I'm going to put a double discount range for our Berserker Brew. It might not seem like it's worth it there, but just making sure that it can hit everything else later on is also very nice. Also on top of that, get jungle drums just to be safe too, just to make sure, you know. Now you might think that 49 looks to be a very dangerous wave, but since we now have our balls here, we're all good to go. There is no worry to be had. We're just in a very good spot. Alright, so we're going to finish off here. We're going to get spikes, balls here. We're going to complement it with another Berserker Brew. Just put it straight underneath it there. And you remember how I said that I would only be getting one more monkey before, one more dart monkey? Well, I admit I lied, but I'll show you why in just a second here. Round 50 can be a little bit iffy sometimes. What I would recommend, especially for round 50, is don't do what I just did there. Don't be very forgetful. Get a Jerry Fire, get some pickles, guarantee the fact that you won't end up dying. As you can see, don't chance it like I did. Don't be a forgetful Andy. Anyway, end up getting a little dart monkey up on top of your Jungle Drums village here. Get a cape on that as well. And what you're going to do is you're going to upgrade this one to Dark Knight. You've got 2 different options that you can go for. I like Dark Knight a lot, simply because I think it is a little bit cheaper than the handy dandy Robo Monkey at the moment. But for the time being, we need to try to afford up to it. So get super range just to be able to interact on 52 here. Very important, just gives a little bit of extra damage, get knockback, and pretty much from this point, you're completely safe. Your mid game should be very free, and realistically, the thing is that Dark Knight offers pretty much the exact same things as Robo Monkey, but on the cheap, so I like it quite a lot for what it does. Would highly recommend it. So really good save ups on a lot of expert maps involve either Robo Monkeys or Super Monkeys at the moment, especially with things like double discounts. So another critical piece of the puzzle to be able to beat it all. The thing is, especially on maps like this, simply because they're firing down one side, we don't really need to worry about multiple lanes here. We'll only end up going for one Dark Knight. But on lanes where you do need to worry about 2 sides, you will go for double Dark Knight more often than not, simply because it offers unparalleled control. And especially when you've got multiple villages here, you can end up teleporting the Dark Knight around and getting a lot of value out of it. On this map, however, this Dark Knight is a very stationary knight. We're just going to be keeping this right here, and it will be getting its job done very, very easily. Everything comes to the Dark Knight. Why would it need to move in the first place? Funnily enough though, we go for the Dumb Knight cross-pathing simply because it works really well with the Jury Stones here and everything. You can end up getting a camo pot for this round. I don't mind it either way. We're still going to get it just to make sure that we don't end up losing. Again, don't do what I did on round 50 there. Don't try to chance it more often than not. Just play it very safe. and you'll find that it will be very easy for you. Round 60, very simple idea, same idea as what we're going to do. This isn't actually chancing it at all, we're simply just going to let Dumb Knight do its job. Dumb Knight with a nice little knockback in stunts here, make short work of it. Our final little purchase before we start saving up is we're going to go for a Maim Mob, and Maim Mob in particular is very great against some of your 70s and 80s as well, you know, a lot of carryover value, so we're going to make great use of that, and then we're going to start saving up for our Spirit of the Forest. Most notably here, some of the save ups can be a little bit brutal on expert maps, but as you'll note, a lot of our tools that we're using here, the Spike Balls, the Dark Knight, the Maim Moab, they have a lot of endgame value as well. The one thing you really want to be wary of on expert maps is if you're using a lot of money to just try to stay alive, you'll typically end up failing in the later rounds. So as you can see, we have tools that have very strong leftover value, especially as the game goes on. Dark Knight has great ceramic control, Maim has great mob control, and Spalls is just great all round. 63, very important, we're going to double glue the top side here again, as this will get us through 2 waves out of 3, and we're going to pickle our Jungle's Bounty, and you'll see why in just a second, because these ceramic waves will be non-existent. Boom, look at that. Just makes absolute mincemeat of them. You might think, why not just let the Spike Balls deal with it there, but this just pretty much makes doubly sure that nothing goes wrong. Now, very important again for this round, make sure you end up buying up your Maim Moab. Again, don't chance it like me, don't forget like me. Don't do what I do here. Alright, finally before we end up finishing off our little save up here, I'm going to grab a Berserker Brew. And with that being said, that's the final little item that we need to purchase before we end up going straight up to a Spirit of the Forest. Funnily enough, we actually do have somewhat of a difficult round coming up here. We've got round 71 coming up, which might not seem like a very menacing round, but it turns out that round 71 is one of the unique rounds on this map, because it turns out that a lot of the sites that the mobs come down are completely random. So we don't know whether it's going to come down left side, the right side here, but what we do know is that the majority of the time here, all they come down is just all on one side. So we're going to get a camo pot to allow our Dark Knight to see just a little bit further. As you can see, they all for some reason come down this one side here. Why does that happen? I don't know. If you could tell me, that would be great. I've been trying to figure it out for a few hundred attempts at this point, but hey, you know what? Who am I to try to question the way that Rohan has programmed this map? Alright, cool. So one of the main reasons why we go for the middle crosspath, aka the Dumb Knight crosspathing, is so that we can get access to Sharpening Stone. Sharpening Stone, very strong. Is going to allow our Dumb Knight to pierce 3 more, well, Bloons that it would otherwise not be able to. So one of the problems with a lot of Dark Knight save-ups is that it is fairly pierce capped quite often, but Sharpening Stone can really end up easing that up, especially as you can see here with particularly difficult rounds like that. That is an entire BFB or 2 just completely dealt with. But what we're going to do in this spot, 76 is way too much pierce for us to deal with initially, so we're just going to put a Maelstrom at the start there. Again, pretty much the toughest rounds for this sort of save up here is when they pretty much try to Zerg rush you initially. You know, when they send out like a lot of MR, what is it, RMB? Red Balloon Equivalent, RBM, that's it. Pretty much when they send a lot of RBM initially. For 78 here, this can be a bit of a problematic round, so what we're going to do is we're going to double glue at the front here just to be able to deal with the first wave. Going to camo pot our Druid. I'm going to pickles it as well, just to make sure that everything gets done with it. And you'll see why in just a second, because this initial balloon wave is very, very dangerous for us. So we really want to make sure that we try to preserve our spike piles as much as possible. And if you can preserve your spike piles as much as possible, you'll find that the secondary wave, which is potentially even scarier, just ends up being an absolute cakewalk. Even though you might find that because there's no glue, you'll end up having your spike pile in jeopardy, I just let it ride. just let it hit there and everything, and you should be all good. 78 looks to be a little bit of a problem round, but I guarantee you that these rainbow regrows do absolutely nothing, and that they are more funny more than anything, simply because you've got access to Jungle's Bounty. It's very good against this wave. Now, we're really close to our save up point here. As I said, middle of 81 is typically when you end up affording this. It's very important that you get it by round 81, as 82 is usually a death sentence, especially for a lot of strategies there. You know, you might be able to chance your way through 81. You most certainly cannot chance your way through 82. So we're just going to let this ride here for a good little bitty. Really nice as well here is that drew to the main mob. This allows any cooldowns that you might have to come back up again. So it's a very valuable save up tool in that regard. You can end up even putting it on last there if you really want to deal a good number on your stall game. However, we don't really care for stall here, as we are not a stall build, we are a damage build. Alright, so what we're looking for here is, because the way that the Dumb Knight works, we're not going to have enough damage to be able to bust this open, but we're going to put a Maelstrom down in the middle of all those BFBs and just let them go to work. Finally, 81 can be a little bit of a questionable round, so you've got a few different options that you can go for. What we're going to do here though is we're just going to end up Maelstroming when things look a little bit awkward. So we're going to let our Dumb Knight go to work for the most part. And the idea here will be, we're just going to try to get this to pretty much any time where something looks a little bit iffy, we're going to end up Maelstroming. Okay, if a whole bunch of balloons end up popping down here, we're going to end up Maelstroming. Like, for example, here, that looks a little bit iffy. So we're going to end up supporting some of the rest of the waves here instead. I'm going to Maelstrom that. And this is looking a little bit iffy here as well. So what you can do in this spot, just mash out Spirit of the Forest just to make sure that it all gets done. As you can see there, with Spirit of the Forest down, this is where things start to get safe. For example, in that situation there, again, if you're looking like you might feel like you're in a bit of a worry, I would recommend putting like a spike nail or two down there. Turns out that those spike nails are incredibly powerful, the more you know. With Spirit of the Forest down, all we're really looking for in this spot now is just the ability to try to clear up Moabs, or we're trying to pop the big stuff now, so we're looking for things like Moab presses to be able to deal with everything. Because the way that Spirit of the Forest works here is Spirit of the Forest vines, they end up doing a ton of damage. So you're rewarded for pretty much snowballing the wave. Moabs and everything popping open there will pop more Moabs, which will pop BFBs, and so long as you can end up stacking up vines. So for example here, I'll show you. See, the vines ended up going down here, which means that more mobs end up popping open, which means more vines stacking on top there. And you can see, so long as you can keep everything together with the main mob, for example, turns out that you're very, very strong against a lot of stuff. We've got our damage tower, we've got our Spirit of the Forest, now it's time to finish up with some support instead. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a village, just put it right next here. What you're looking for is, again, sightline pretty much touching the bottom of the ravine here and the top of this wave here. And when you get both of those in line, pop that down, grab 2 discounts there and everything. You know, I like getting primary mentoring here. I don't think it's terribly useful, but I like it anyway. And what you do is you're just going to get a Moab glued down right there. Get it up to Relentless and everything with Splatter, and just let it ride. Now, we did end up struggling a little bit with our damage beforehand, but because we have access to our Spirit of the Forest now, which will end up doing a lot of extra damage, and will also end up helping us clear everything up, we should be all good against these ZOMGs. Now, very important to note on these rounds here is that past round 85, that's when your camo potion ends up wearing off on a lot of your towers. So what you want to do is past 85, that's the time where you replace a lot of these here. So you're going to end up putting down your camo pot once more up top here, and just refresh your sharpening stone as well. Just to make sure it all goes hunky-dory. then you'll start to know Spirit of the Forest ends up just doing a ton of damage here. And the good news is that with Relentless Glue, a lot of your mobs end up stacking up, which is why we end up getting it. So thus it allows it to do, guess what, even more damage. Wow. So this placement can look a little bit tight, but so long as you end up tucking it in there just a little bit, you just get a main mob or a mob press in here. I like getting a faster throwing one simply because you are a damage build. It doesn't really do all that well against rounds like round 98, but since you've got plenty of other support, you'll end up being just fine for the most part. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the build now, is you just end up getting a ton of extra support in here, and you're all good to go. And look at that. Turns out that mob presses end up doing a ton of damage, and that's one side dealt with now. And then, because this is all stacking up here, it's going to get a second side dealt with. Again, oh no, that's 2 ZOMGs worth, but you know, when you find that this starts busting open here, and there's the great tidal wave of mines. Just gets dealt with. So with 2 presses down or a press down here and everything, we're all good to go. No worries to be had here. Round 89 on this build is the last round that you're going to have with Geraldo items before they refresh. So what you can do is, if you want to, you can spend a bit of money, you know, plop down a few things here or there. You know, what I like to do is usually I like to end up putting down some Jerry Fires. I like putting a Jerry Fire on my Spirit of the Forest. And you know what? A Jerry Fire on, say, something like You Dumb Mine. It's just nice. On top of that there, you can end up going for a few extra spikes. I'm just going to spike 1, 2, 3 down here. Same on the left side. Left side can be a little bit iffy, so 1, 2, 3. You should be all good. Now you might say round 90 can get a little bit questionable, right? You know, we've got DDTs, and DDTs, they're very fast. We don't necessarily have the greatest way of catching them in the backside. You know, might be a bit of a problem for us. Well, see, this is what the this is what we've got the main for with camo, is because it's going to allow us to build up just enough to be able to defend it there pretty simply. And there we go, there's Jerry refreshing everything. Wouldn't recommend saving up for a Paragon Power Totem here, not especially in Chimps. But with our $6,000 save up, you'll find here that, oh no, look, there's DDTs, I'm in trouble. You're not in trouble, you're all good. 61 here as well. You're all good in the hood. But the thing is that going forward there, that the problematic rounds are in fact definitely going to be your DDT rounds, so we're going to try to build around that. Specifically, 95 in particular can be a little bit aggressive. We're going to use our camo potion here. We're going to put our camo potion, very notably, make sure that you're going to get your Relentless Glue to start off with. Select that one, mostly for the range there, but also for the DDT support. And for round 92, what you're going to do is you're going to end up getting a Sabotage Ninja. Now you've got a few different areas you can put it. You can put it down here in the double discount range, but it doesn't end up seeing the track there, so you don't get a lot out of it. You can end up trying to tuck it in here as well, which is not bad. I'm going to plop it in there. You can also put it up top. The discount doesn't really matter all that much, really. But for round 92, what you're going to do is you're going to pickle your Druid of Jungle, or your Spirit of the Forest. Same thing, really. And you're just going to let it ride, simply because it's very, very strong against a lot of stuff going on. You're going to need Sabotage specifically for rounds like 93, just to make sure that you've got enough damage, while you're still getting some of your extra anti-DDT defense up. And as you'll note, it's pretty darn free. On top of this, we can end up fitting one more boomerang up the top here. Again, I like faster throwing on this one, does a heck of a job. But for 93, without all of our nice support, we're going to end up going for a Sabotage as soon as you see the DDTs. And this is pretty much just going to guarantee that nothing goes awry. Typically ending up stacking up the mobs here, or BFBs, would end up being considered bad, but in this build it's essentially a godsend. You want to stack up as much as you possibly can to guarantee the damage comes through. Alright, finally for round 94, I believe I've got enough money for this. We don't have a lot of space here, but the idea on this one is we're just going to get one last press. We're going to leave this one on first, most notably, and then as soon as our Sabotage comes off of cooldown, we're going to press Sabotage. This is just to guarantee that nothing goes wrong in terms of the mobs that end up popping out, especially out of these waves here. It can overwhelm your Spirit of the Forest, so we're just going to play around that. Now 95 can be a little bit particular here or there. You've got a few options for it, but what we're going to do is we're just going to Genie. Doesn't end up mattering all that much. And for later on in the game, you can do a whole bunch of different things, but I'm going to show you pretty much a surefire method. Don't forget to press Sabotage here, even though, you know, you've got the Genie down and everything. Things can still go a little bit iffy here or there, so, you know, we're just going to guarantee it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put down the Jerry totems here and here. It's a little bit of a tuck away on this one. If you've placed everything really tight, you can fit this in this area, but I like this in this area. Totems just offer just a little bit more security more than anything else, so they're quite valuable in that regard. But what we're going to do is our late game, our late game is going to be a first strike. So we've got a few different ways of going about this, but what we're going to primarily focus on here for the most part is we're just going to focus on staying alive, aka doing literally nothing, because we've got a Genie down at this point of the game. And this will end up carrying us 100% through everything that we've got, and you'll be all good in the hood. Wouldn't recommend pressing Sabotage on this round. Typically ends up being a little bit of a doozy like that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to buy up our first strike here. Can end up buying up a little bit sooner, but I like just keeping things the way they are. Genie's a really nice save up tool, especially on a lot of these expert maps simply in the late game. What for I would do for 97, this one can be a little bit iffy, so I would just first strike one of them here just to make sure that, you know, things don't go completely wrong, and you can still end up getting a lot of damage here. But Genie is really useful and is one of all those best tools in the game. You want to be very careful with it. One notable thing is that if you're struggling with round 94, I would recommend ending up using it on round 94 there, and then it'll come back up for round 100, especially if you need a little bit of extra damage. Again, if you want to play this really safe, just first strike it. Don't chance it. Following up here, we're just going to end up getting our second Genie down. We've pretty much spaced everything perfectly, so we've got nothing to worry about. Also notably, I didn't even camo pot my Spirit of the Forest here. You probably want to end up doing that just to make sure that things don't go wrong, but as you saw, nothing ended up going wrong on 93, so nothing to worry about. And from here, all you really got to do is just spend the rest of your money. So all we're going to do is we're going to resharpen our stone here and everything. And we're just going to put down some spike piles. We're not even going to worry about our left side or our right side here. We're just going to end up putting down our spike mines here and everything. You know, just making sure we're getting everything out of Jerry's shop. And we're going to hold on to a little bit of money to, you know, just maelstrom once or twice just in case things go wrong. We can't guarantee that we're going to use all of the PS up the top here with our glue. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to sabotage immediately. And this will essentially guarantee us free immunity. But as you'll know, there's a lot of firepower on this round. This is the round with the highest PS in the game, so you want to make sure that you've got at least some adequate defense at being able to deal with this. But thankfully we've got the Dumb Knight in the back. It's going to do tons of work. And as long as you end up using your sabotage in an appropriate amount of time, it'll come back up for 99. As you can see here, thanks to all the stall that we've got, ends up coming up back in time here. And the beautiful thing is that the rest of this build is now officially free. You sabotage right away. And then for round 100, it's literally the easiest round 100 in the game. You first strike once, you first strike again, and if you're feeling a bit ambitious, guess what? You can first strike one more time. Even if it ends up popping open into BFBs or ZOMGs here, it doesn't matter. Press sabotage. Funnily enough, if you end up pressing them hard enough, they can end up going and splitting on 2 lanes here as well. But that is Ravine. So, I hope this guide ended up helping you there. Hope you learned a little bit about some expert maps more often than not. This is more Herolder usage, I find, but Spirit of the Forest, great tower to combine with it, as well as support. And, I mean, yeah, this is Ravine.
Thanks for that one, Frosty. So now let's get into part 4, which is starting expert. And this one's going to be divisive, so let's just get right into it. So starting off, basically, you're most likely always going to see either one of these three. It's the very common triple dart, sub dart, sniper dart, start, and you see them all over. It's pretty much the most effective starts. But however, there's an extra twist to this. You're going to encounter lots of targeting micro just to beat these early games, and a lot of precise placements that have to be done really well, or else the early game just may not work. And because of this, there is oftentimes only one specific way you can start an expert maps on Chimps mode, and this is a big bummer to a lot of people. So contrary to what I said before at the start of this series, this is where the guide comes out, and I do highly recommend following a guide for the very, very start of the early game. Either that or you will spend a long time getting the same exact result with a lot of frustration, and once you get past the initial rounds, your own strategy can take over. If you really want to push through the early game yourself, though, you can feel free to do so. This is the same exact way I approach some Insane Chimps challenges, although I have all of these early games memorized. But when you're looking at a video to see, make sure it's a black border guide, because a lot of times in these challenges we use very hard and very advanced early game strategies that won't really work out well for black border. But right after that, like how I do it, anything can take over. Like I just decided to use a very random off-meta strategy in that video, so it's not dependent on what early game you use typically. Another great tip for starting out with the precise placements is that you can use the features on the map to help you out. Like for bloody puddles and notoriously difficult, I can use the tire treads to line it up, and I can also use these rivets on the bottom tire thing or tire wheel to make sure that sub placement is just perfect. You can pick your own features in the map to line up with the range or the features of the tower itself, and if you do it correctly, you can beat the first rounds of bloody puddles. This is the only way to do it, so that's how you do it. These perfect placements are often very challenging and are hard to get your mind around, and it can take a while just to get used to them, but a lot of times it's really nice because once you get used to them, it comes a lot quicker, so just keep that in mind. Also, they often need to be very perfect because you need to get snipes. For example, if you're doing the land variation of ouch start, there's one with water, albeit you can't remove the water in the middle once you start that. There's a lot of snipes that you'll get with the perfect placement, and it can be tricky to do sometimes, but once you get it, it's actually really satisfying. So you'll just see the snipes with the dart. There's also a bit of targeting micro in here. So as you can see, I'm going to have to buy the upgrade and switch to strong to take out that one green balloon. Once that green is down, back to first and get that leaking red, and also hit the green down to a blue. And then you'll get another dart, and if you place everything perfectly and use some tricks by putting the 2 darts at the bottom 2 pixels up each, you'll be able to beat these rounds and get all of the snipes required, which can only be done when they're placed in these very, very specific locations. I also do lining up too, so I line up the edge of the range with specific features on the map.
Let's just start off nice and simple. One of the starts here is going to be the classic 3 dart start. It's pretty much the only thing you can do on this map. So we're going to start off, we're going to place our first little dart monkey. We're going to use 3 little things here. We're going to use this little corner of the map in line with the dart monkey's hair. I'm going to put this right down in this area here. I'm going to put it on strong. This one we're going to try to put the hilt into the dart monkey's, the tip of the dart monkey's hair here. I'm going to put this one on last, and this last dart monkey here, we're going to put it so that the tree covers half of his eye. Perfect. I'm going to leave this one on first, and we're going to press play. The 3 dart start is typically the only thing that will work on a lot of expert maps, simply because of their very restricted starts. So we got to try to make sure that we make the use out of it. And you'll find in this situation here that while we have quite a lot to cover, we still don't have enough to be able to get to another dart monkey. So we're going to make use of quick shots just to try to get us through this round. On top of that, we're going to make use of this sword. So the sword activates on 24 clicks. I like to click up to 20 times just to make sure that everything is hunky-dory. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And this will just get us pretty much ready for what we got to do here. So the first important thing that we're looking for is when this comes down here, does that hit 2 balloons? If yes, then you're good to keep going. We're also looking to try to pop every single green balloon except this last one here. When you at least get 1 pop on this top one here, when that shifts from a green to a blue, then you're all good to keep clicking, simply because it will end up targeting this one up here if you don't. Get the snipe there, you're all good. So from this spot here, we need a few more dart monkeys to be able to clear everything up. Let's get another dart monkey on strong there. And this is pretty much just going to be the early game. This is the life, you know? You haven't really got a lot of options here on the Veen, you just kind of try to make it work. Another dart monkey, you know, 1 more for the road sort of a thing. We're going to tuck this one in as close to the corner as possible here, when the dart monkey won't go any further. That's how you know you're in the good spot. This is important for rounds like round 13. We're going to put this one on strong here, and if everything is said and done, you should be able to afford an important piece later on due to this little save up here. Last but not least, we're going to get 1 more dart monkey for the time being. I'm going to put this one just behind this first dart monkey. We're going to leave that one on first. And from this spot, we should be able to save up for our hero Geraldo. Usually on maps like these, you would end up having to wait a little bit longer on your heroes. But Geraldo doesn't really mind all that much, simply because you can afford Geraldo at any point and make him good. So I like getting Geraldo down as soon as possible, just to make sure that you start ending up using his tools to be able to get yourself snowballing. So most importantly on round 13 here, if everything is placed correctly, you should be able to get a critical few snipes on some of these bottom balloons here. In particular, I believe it's this bunch. We need to get a snipe on this pair here with that dart. If you've done everything correctly, that should be all good, and you're going to put Geraldo right next to one of your starting dart monkeys here.
The second strategy is coming up here with a live commentary from me. Next example is going to be on geared, and I'm going to be looking at the sniper strategy. I'm just concluding up the early game for this black border, just doing a little bit of targeting, and a little bit of micro, but I had my clump of snipers can get away with this on geared, because it just is it's a long single lane map, but there's a gimmick, and I will just be getting Geraldo. It doesn't really matter where you get Geraldo, so I'm just going to be getting them right here, and yeah, I'm going to be moving on with the sniper for the early game. I'm just going to get a jungle to druid, so I don't really have to deal with much of anything. So let me get my druid up there, but I'm just going to want to keep a good open space for my sniper clump. They're going to need a lot of space, so we're going to have to make sure we have that, and then I'm going to have my druid right here. Let's just focus him on strong so he takes out this big clump of stuff there. Nice. And then I'm going to be wanting to get Geraldo glue up eventually. So in the meantime, while I don't have that, I think I might have to resort to using some spikes, which is something you can use with Geraldo. Geraldo's good with this strategy, so we'll probably have these. Looks like I will need a spike maybe. Not really, but now I got my glue. So glue's great. You just put it at the start of the map. It's going to be working. You'll probably hear more about that with the Geraldo section. But basically, it's difficult to go straight into sniper for the early game. So I will just be holding off, and I will just be getting the jungle to druid to take care of that. For round 24 with Geraldo, I am free to just have my spike eat the camo green if I have more than 3 spikes there. So that will be good. We will need something for the lead. But I should be getting my druid up here. So some of these rounds might be a little bit close. But we will get there. Do we have more than 3 spikes? We do indeed have more than 3 spikes. So I'm fine to just tank that, and I'll get that right here. And then for lead, I'll just get Hardthorn, and I'll keep this guy in first. So we just really, I also put on auto start now. we just really need something to push us into the sniper, because you just can't really start with it. Now, when it comes to the snipers, we're gonna have a whole bundle of them, many different kinds. They really complement each other very well. Okay, so now that the druid's going well, we are gonna have you for camo, the 022. You're gonna be going straight in for a bouncing bullet, so we can really take out stuff with Pierce. Because without this, you really don't have any consistent way of dealing with Pierce. Jungle the Druid obviously is there to help us with the Pierce issue early game, but once we get into the later rounds, you're not really going to quite hold, so we can save up right into the bouncing bullet. We're going for the bottom cross path because that's going to work better with the Alchemist. So let's get you. You're just going to be able to deal with the leads. That's pretty nice. For round 40, we can have Geraldo to help support us, but we also will probably start working on the 205 sniper. Obviously, won't get it the 205 immediately, but that's going to help. We're going to have that out to help out with round 40, plus later on it's going to help out a lot with the bad on round 100, and also cleaning up super ceramics, and he'll just be set on first. But for now, it could be a good idea to set him on strong. So we're going to have you deal with help deal with round 40. You also can use some Geraldo abilities if need be. Sharpstone is pretty good. The level 8 Sharpstone potentially will get reverted. We'll get its nerf reverted because of just one of the ways it affected the sniper. Before it was super OP, but with some changes, it's not, so it might get it reverted. So basically, we got this. You're here, and we can then put like a glue at the end or something, just to help take it all out. But I'll keep you on strong for now, but bring you to first later. So now I'm going to want to get some villages in. I'm going to need to alch buff you, so I'm just going to get a 320 alch on the sniper. He's eventually going to become a supply drop, but we do need to be very careful about the space. Space is an issue, so I'm going to take you off auto start. Round 43 often can be pretty tricky, so I'm just going to use glue here. We should be able to take it all out though. Pretty nice and easy. Obviously we can't really be solely relying on this guy for camo, but as for now, until like round 51-ish, we should be fine. So I'm going to get my villages in. We need to really be careful about space. I'm going to get a double discount because like pretty much everything's going to be a tier 3. We're going to have a lot of money spent in tier 3s. And we're going to have one MIB in here later. We're going to need an MIB. So I'm going to just buy Reaver Block now to save it, make sure we have it. So this is basically going to be in range of all the snipers. The other guy's going to be a Jungle Drums. So we'll get that up too. Jungle Drums, I can put auto start back on now. And then that's going to be good. We're going to get the alch there. Just a 300. You should be fine. Okay. And then think about now, I'm going to take you back on first. And because we're going to have those heavier camos, the camo ceramics, we're going to need that to deal with it. And then I'm going to be going straight for a main. I'm going to keep these unupgraded for now just because I'm going to want alch priority on a main. They're going to get alch eventually when we have our higher tier alchs putting stuff on everybody. But I'm just going to want to make sure my main mob, which I'm going to be getting next, it's going to be a 420, will keep alch buff. So basically, we're going to be for the snipers that we're going to be wanting to get. Also, I'm going to get the 01 crosspaths. These guys are later going to become 401, so they're going to be spewing alch all over. These are like slower attacking towers, so 401 will be very comfortable buffing 3 of them. But for the snipers that we're going to get a 420 main mob. You're just going to stun stuff. 205 Elite Defender, that's going to help clean up the super ceramics, helps early game too also a lot. And then round 100 obviously will help out a lot. I'll just get you to 204 right now. Then we're going to have a 052. The 052 is going to buff stuff. A lot of times you see people getting the 052 before round 63. to take out round 63, but honestly, it's just easier waiting to get it a little bit after. You have so much more like leeway if you get like just 2 bouncing bullets first instead. I'm going to be getting my main mob up here. It's a lot safer, it's a lot cheaper, and you can get your main up comfortably. You can have this guy up before 2. So I just much prefer getting 2 bouncing bullets and you 2 stronger stimulant than going straight for an elite sniper. So we'll be saving up for that like later in the mid game. It's very comfortable. These 2 guys will put in work. Also, supply drop will give extra pierce, so we won't really be running into issues there. And if you need some extra pierce too, you can use draw the items. But I'm just going to be preferring to save them for now. We'll be putting them out in full force later. Also, when it comes to bunny, you can get bunny too. I'm going to just try to save up for. Actually, I mean, you really could get bunny whenever. This map, it is long, so this strategy is super effective on this map. You also can do it on some other expert maps with some slight alterations, and of course on all the other maps before. As you can see, here's round 63. I might want a little bit more pierce, so let me just put a sharp stone on one of you guys. You also could use glue, like right here at the beginning. But yeah, so you could save up for supply drop. I guess I'll just get bunny now. Why not? Let's plop some bunnies down. They are really good. They are good for cleaning up the super ceramics, which is something that the strategy will benefit greatly from. So yeah, we'll get them now. You could also just rush this. But I guess we'll come back like round 80-ish. We'll have my elite sniper and we'll have bunny. And I guess we'll just be back here. We're almost at elite defender. There is one thing that I kind of did forget to mention. It's that after we get our elite sniper, we are going to want to get this guy a 2-3-0. If you're doing like another map, you could possibly do something else like a spike balls at the end if it's like single lane and the track isn't spinning around like this. But just something to kind of push those ceramics back. Downdraft the 2-3-0, like you don't have to micro it. And also it does have an advantage of kind of keeping the ceramics in one more clump, so the bouncing bullets do get a little bit better. So I do honestly recommend downdraft. Also, for Geraldo, you need to make sure he's on first. When you buy Elite Sniper, he's going to be automatically put on Elite Targeting for some odd reason. That might be changed in the future, but just take it off. I can get my Elite Defender now. He's going to be on first. My main mob is going to be on Strong. So now, for the MIB, we are going to need it before round 90, so you can just hold, make sure you have cash for before round 90 when the TD keys come out. Just be safe. I'm going to get right now, and now let's look at some of these ALK buffs. So, I'll get this to 4-1 just for now. But these guys are going to buff 3 snipers, so this one ALK has 1 sniper, 2 sniper, 3 sniper. And you only have 1 sniper on, and then there's 1 lone sniper out here. So I'm going to just fill this up with bouncing bullets. So we'll have 3 ALKs covering so many bouncing bullets. So we'll have, come on, get in here. 1 sniper, and then there's the 2 sniper there already, 3 sniper. And we'll have another 1 sniper, 2 sniper, 3 sniper. Get another 401 ALK in here somewhere. Right here should just be fine. Actually, no, right here. And then that should cover everybody. So everybody will get some fun buff now. Like even the guys over here will eventually get some buff when it comes out. And now I'm going to get them on first as 032s. And after that, we can spend some money on support. Now that round 90 is coming up, we can put Sharpstone on all of these guys, and it will stay the whole game. So let me do that before the item shop resets. We'll start with the Elite Sniper. Put you here, it gives them more pierce, so that helps out a bit. I know that we're going quite late before buying support, but once we round these guys off, we'll just go full on support. And Geraldo, his shop will reset, so then we'll get some more sharp stones, which will be nice. Pickles isn't really worth it. On the higher tier snipers, it even is a nerf, so we'll hold on that. But let me get sharp stone, 3 more sharp stones on these other 3 snipers. There we go, quite nice. And now we can just get something. We can use some of Geraldo items to help out, and we can also get like a mob glue or something. The track's gonna be spinning all over, so I'll get my mob glue in a moment. For the genies, we can use our genies on like round 98. That would work out pretty well. So we get a mob glue like right here, so we'll have it for round 96, and also buy like camo pot on it. And then for round 100, so genies on 98 and 99 would work out. For 100, I'll get a spike storm. You could also get like a first strike and rejuve it. The E-Def should do the remainder of the damage for round 100, but as you can see, this Relentless put in the work there. I do need to save some cash for that genie though. So yeah, let's wait on that. Kill these guys. We'll get our genie money. Want my genie? I don't have my genie just yet. Come on, get it, please. Please and thank you. There we go. Put the genie in range of the villages. You can also use some of these totems. These totems are pretty good. Should be getting another genie up soon too. Ideally, you would get the genies before the spike storm. That's my bad. I can also place some glues here, and I can use some of these maelstroms when things get tough. I have a bunch of these, so might as well use them. Don't get through. Nice. We held that. Round 99. We should take round 99 out just fine. And round 100, I have my spike storm. Probably get those genies up before on 98, and you'll still get your spike storm and rejuves. If I did that, I probably wouldn't have to spend a whole lot on like those blade traps and such. But yeah, that should just be a win. Really cool, really easy, really effective strategy. Works all over. You can even get it to work on maps that like it really wouldn't look like it would work on, like dark dungeons. I've seen black border guides for dark dungeons with sniper spam, but yeah. That's just the gist of it. It's really powerful. Might get a little bit powerful in the future, but it's really cool. If need be, you could cut one of the snipers just to get a bit more support. And yeah, you could also use some more of like Jerry items. So moving on, this is part 6, which is a look at all of the maps. So unlike the easier categories, all of the expert maps have a very unique aspect or challenge to them that will make the gameplay on Chimps mode a lot different. And this will greatly affect what you can and cannot do while blackboarding. And here's some quick info just on every map, how it's set up, how it works, what might work out well. So let's start with Erosion. So Erosion is a very interesting map because you start off with a lot of land, and then all of the land just starts disappearing when all of the ice melts or breaks away. So the ice breaks at the end of round 17, 35, 53, 71, and 89. So as that round ends, so going into round 18, the ice is going to break, and so on and so forth. It's every 18 rounds. And then eventually you're left off at the 90s with this tiny little track up here in the top corner, which may look very difficult because there isn't much space, but there are some tricks to get around this. First of all, most heroes are completely useless because they aren't really going to be doing anything unless they have infinite range. So Psy or Geraldo are always a great option on this map. And also you need to be very careful for the mid game because it's easy to just blow a ton of money. It's not as simple as getting a heli, but you can get other infinite range towers for the mid game, or perhaps do something like moving Dark Knights over, which you will see here. So if you time it before the ice breaks, you can move the Dark Knight over, right before the round starts, and then you can move them all the way back onto the last platform, so you aren't going to be wasting a ton of money in the mid game. This is often a very big issue for this map. Something like Beast Handler will also work too, where you can have a Beast Handler up at the top and then just link him to go down, and you can micro your Beast Handler around as you wish and then move them back when the next wave is about to come. So make sure you aren't wasting a ton of money in the mid game. Is a huge thing on this map, because when runs fail, it's oftentimes really just because of this. Now when it comes to late game, there is also a lot of concern too, because it is a tiny amount of space at the top, so you need a more compact strategy to be able to fit up there. But another trick really is that you can get some more land with the ice, which we'll see later. So having something that doesn't take up a whole lot of space, like using a cripple mob instead of a bouncing bullet spam if you were to do snipers, which is a really good and very efficient option. Works out quite well on this map too. But if you do really need that more space, the ice will come in clutch. Just gotta find the little spot for him, and you can put him down there with a village. The 042 will give you quite a good amount of land to work with. And the cool thing is that there is the perfect tack zone spot right in there. It's underneath the track, so it gets all of the benefit, and it's around a loop, so the balloons just will die. It's very cool, and if you can get the tack zone to work on this map for late game, it is pretty nice to watch. So other than that, for erosion, you just really need to make sure you aren't wasting a ton of money in your mid game. Like there, for example, I even just got a 302 just to beat the mid game, but not much more than that, so we can have cash to get our expensive towers in the late game. And now, just to add some commentary and perspective, I'm going to show you what I actually use to get black border on all of these maps for the very first time. Some of them are still going to be a very good strategy that you can use well today, and some of them might be a little bit outdated. But I used a Geraldo sniper spam strat as my first black border. Still pretty good, you can do it. There was definitely some improvements that could be made on my run if you were to redo it. But yeah, still good strategy, works out nice, and definitely very versatile. Definitely aren't wasting any money in the mid game, but probably just having an ice so you can get some more space to work with there would be very useful. Next, we're going on to X Factor. Now, X Factor is definitely a very annoying map. When it comes to like where you should build things, the two spaces on the right and the left are definitely better than the top and the bottom, because it's a lot more compact. If I were to say get like a damage tower here at the bottom, it's not reaching anything. If you put it up at the left, it's going to be a lot more effective, and I just choose the left because it does there. Now conveniently, there's a space at the top, which is very, very useless. You basically can't really hit anything. Alchemist doesn't really reach it. You need to get like a really good spot, perfect spot, and you're just not really getting much of anything by placing something there. And also it's really expensive, so just avoid that. The middle obstacle is also really annoying because your range is basically getting cut off on all of your towers by like 50%, because they won't really reach in there. So when it comes to where you should place things, just keep everything on the left. It's a lot more convenient and effective for pretty much every strategy. You can also get support towers coming in behind to keep things pushed back when they're coming through, or to keep things pushed back from just going into that middle and then skedazzling into the void. Also on round 98, the balloons are going to be coming from this way, so a cool thing that you can do is you can stall a little bit by getting maybe a Moab glue and a few Moab presses. Of course, if your defense is a lot weaker to heavy rounds like this, then this is a pretty effective strategy to hold one side of round 98, so you can just deal with the other side, which will make things a lot easier. And then later on, once the Moab presses break all of those down into BFBs and Moabs, will go through. And the DDTs obviously can also be an issue, so if you need to, you definitely should get some support for that. But other rounds like 96 are just going to come from that side, from the left side, so you better watch out for stuff like that. They alternate on two paths going around the whole map, so basically everything's coming from everywhere at some point eventually, and it can be tricky. Now, one interesting thing to note is that snipers oddly will see through and shoot through the middle thing. Quite bizarre. This map definitely does have a lot of weird line of sight, but moving on to the strategies, what I used for my black border was a Grandmaster Ninja strategy, and yes, this is still very, very effective. Just like the type of these maps, same with Ouch, Grandmaster Ninja is just going to be able to do a lot of work, and the projectiles are going to be able to go seeking everywhere and kind of just like get rid of the challenge that this map has where everything's awkward and you can't really place things well and get things in good spots and do a lot of consistent damage. Grandmaster Ninja just says all of my projectiles are going to go wherever they want and the challenge is going to be avoided. So yeah, Grandmaster Ninja definitely is a good strategy. There's also, of course, a lot of other things that you can do, not just Grandmaster Ninja. Same with every other map. There's many things you can do, but it is a good one if you want to check it out. So the next one is going to be Geared. And Geared is one that people either find super easy or super challenging. Basically, you just have this big ring you can place all around it, and every round it's going to shift around one position. So in 8 rounds, you're going to be back at the same position. So from round 3 to round 11, that dart monkey stays the same. But if I make it round 12, he goes up there by 1. So basically what this means is that infinite range towers are key. It's a single lane map, so you literally can just get your heli, you can get your snipers, Apache Prime, Comanche Commander, even Rosalia, once she hits level 7, will stay in one place, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, this definitely is the king of infinite range towers. You can get other things to work, but it's just really hard. You're gonna have to like Chinook or time rounds and stuff. So just save yourself some time and go for one of these infinite range towers. You can also do stuff for the early game to make it a lot easier, like 030 Druid or 024 Sniper, because the early game definitely can be trickier for people. But what I use for my first black border is Apache Prime. There's definitely some easier stuff, easier methods out there since then, because this was a very long time ago. This particular example of me doing it, I think, is like from 23.0, very outdated, like 3 years ago. So you definitely can use an Apache Prime, but not in the method that I'm doing here. If you try to do this, I think you'll just die to TDTs, which will be funny. But yeah, you can do like any really sniper heli, probably can even get away with some ace stuff. So now here is Glacial Trails. This is literally the worst map. Nobody likes this map. It sucks. So basically the gimmick here is that after 10 rounds, your tower is frozen for 2 rounds. Every monkey that you place besides an ice will get frozen, so you really need to like get out your notepad and take notes or like do the math to see when your towers will be frozen and work around that. Luckily, the path is pretty long and it is single lane map, but that doesn't mind from the fact that you're literally having your towers being frozen for 2 entire rounds. So what I used is Impale Spirit. I don't actually have a video of the black border, but this is a video from FrostyMate that's kind of a similar strategy, other than I get Icicle Impale besides the Permaspike. Instead of the Permaspike. So yeah, that map kind of sucks, but Sanctuary here is a lot better of a map. Basically, all of the balloons come into this little thing, they do a little dance around the middle, and then they exit out in 4 ways, which means that you pretty much have only until right before they exit to do anything. This might look like these infinite range towers like Apache Prime would work out very well, but now where they're in the middle, where Apache Prime would be effective and like other helis, they're in there for so long, they just leave and they get out. So another really cool tower that you could try using here is Churchill. You don't really see Churchill a whole lot, but he will quite literally just shoot straight down in there, and because they all like go and like do these little loop-de-loop things in the middle, he really can use his Pierce well, and it is very effective. So there's definitely a lot of things you could do, a strategy combination where you have Churchill and some damage towers up at the top. You also can do like permaspike, which is a fairly, maybe not as common, but permaspike down there works. You can get like Bez is really effective, but also what's very common is just seeing a mid game where you have the bads. So like a 024 just to get the ceramics more consistent is often really good just for the mid game to save up some for an expensive tower, or you could go straight for the Bez there. Permaspike, you do have to get your placement right, but this is what I used for my first black border, which you'll see in a bit. So yeah, there are some options. It may look a little tricky at the beginning, but this map honestly is just really fun. Space definitely is a limitation, but you can get around it by using some cool and unique strategies. So what I used for my first black border was permaspike. I don't have a recording of this that I could find. I feel like I did do it, so this is a video from Spiffy that is somewhat similar to it. I think I used like something instead of subcom, I forget, but it was a long time ago, and it also used Churchill. So that is Sanctuary, really awesome map. And now we're moving on to Ravine, which definitely is one of the maps of all time. It's one that a lot of people struggle with. So basically for this map, your balloons are going to be splitting off into two directions for either the odd rounds or the even rounds being on the left, odd rounds being on the right. And the only really good spots to place things are down here in this little area, which there is a decent amount of space, but it gets filled up really quickly because you're going to have a bunch of starting darts in there too, and villages, and if you're going to get a heli for like a downdraft, it's going to take up a lot of space. The most optimal placement is right there where that soda is, because as you notice, it gets half of the coverage for the even number round and all of the coverage for the odd number of rounds. So other than just a little bit of stuff on the even rounds, you're gonna have pretty much everything going into that one area. So if you're using a strategy where you have like one heavy damage tower, damage tier 5 tower, you're gonna want to have him placed in there. And also another very common strategy to make this map a lot easier is going for a double spiked balls. Can get them under like discount drums, alc buff them, and on all the rounds they're going to be laying spiked balls at the back, which will build up spikes and just eat up whatever comes through. So it makes it a lot easier to do strategies, some unique strategies on Ravine. The other thing to note is that odd times you'll be getting your support towers at the top right here. So in like challenges and black borders, you'll see maybe a relentless glue, mob glue, presses all under a discount village, primary training too. Why not get some more pierce and range on these guys? And that is because all of the heavy rounds come out from up here. They're all on even rounds. So round 96, you can really stall those rounds back, make it a lot easier. 94 comes up from there too, 98, and just having like these 3 or I guess 4 guys with the village. Is the village a guy? I don't know, maybe it's a girl. But all of those guys up there, they really push them back. The DVTs are going to be coming on the other side, so it's not really a concern if that support is being wasted. But yeah, Sabo is very good for those. So what I use for this map for my first blackboard is Sky Shredder, which also is conveniently not recorded. It did look very similar to that run, which was done by Spiffy though. So next map is Flooded Valley. Now Flooded Valley is a really simple map. The gimmick is very straightforward. The Moabs and Bloons, they come up and down the dam, and you can place water on the right side, and you can place land on the other side. Now, there's a big dam blocking all of your line of sight, so if you're going to be using land towers, you're going to have to use stuff that sees over. So, like Beast Handler, Archmage, Prince of Darkness, you all can get black borders with those towers, which is really interesting. There are some things where you could do stuff with that one little rock at the side to place land towers there, but it's not really that effective. I would avoid that. You could also do something like a water strategy here, get your water hero and do something like that, or the most common and honestly most effective, easiest strategy, even though that Palkai is an awesome tower and I really want you to use it, but it's just really easy to go for a flagship, carrier flagship, get an ice, and then you can build land on there. So yeah, Another important thing to note is that heroes, you need a hero that will either be able to be placed on water or see over the walls. So that's going to be Brickle, Pat, Zeely, Adora, Etienne, stuff like that. It's going to make it a lot easier. So what I use for my first black border is Pat Zone. Very effective strategy, still works great. You can do it with Geraldo too, but Powakai also is an awesome tower if I could recommend using Powakai to you. But yeah, so that's Flooded Valley. It's very simple. You just you can choose a few different routes. Flagship with ice being the easiest. Make sure you bring a hero that will not do utterly nothing in the early game. So Geraldo, Pat, Adora, Etienne, Azili, stuff like that, gonna work out well. Also, spiked mines in the mid game also can help out too, even though it may not look very good. So yeah, that's Flooded Valley. Pretty straightforward map. Next is Bloody Puddles, which also is not a very straightforward map. So starting off, the balloons alternate from lane 1 and 5 to lane 2 and 3. 2 and 4, and then on lane 3 they come all together in the one lane, overlapping each other. So that lane 3 is kind of like Flooded Valley, except you get land on the other side, and then you also get a bunch of other lanes to deal with. So where to build the towers is basically like this. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's more optimal to have the towers kind of staggered a little bit so that they can take out the lanes 3 rounds very easily by having them kind of grouped together. But for all the other rounds, they're spaced apart, so you kind of just deal with one side then the other side. You can also remove that truck and get a little better line of sight, but actually it's like not really worth it for most strategies because it isn't that much impeding on the line of sight blocker. So I use a Mauler spam for my first black border. This is a bit outdated. To be honest, I really don't know what the best black border strategy is now because I haven't done this map as a black border in a very long time, and I don't really pay attention to Bloody Puddles that often. So you might have to do some snooping around and see what other people are doing if you want a really good strategy recommendation. But you could build your own, I guess, with the characteristics that I described before. So this definitely is a very interesting map, very, very tricky, and you're gonna have to like use your spacing out of your strategy. You're gonna be forced to do something modular. Condor is a really good tower if you want to make things less modular and move BFBs up to the other side, but yeah, you are gonna have to do micro with that indeed. But maybe you should just appreciate this Mauler spam in the height of the Mauler spam meta days. I wish it came back. That was some good times. Alright, so that's Bloody Puddles. Hard map. I honestly don't really have the best advice for it, but we'll move on to Workshop, where I definitely can give you better advice. So Workshop is an interesting map. The balloons actually move faster on this map, and then if you use the motor, it goes down to normal speed. The balloons go down that straight line, the mobs go down that chute. So basically you want to place all of your damage and defense in this far right area. Spikes are really, really good. You can do a spiked mine from mid-game, extremely effective, or you can get a perma spike in there at the end and build up perma spikes. That's also pretty much, I must say, like the easiest strategy because this map is short and it could be hard to get just a regular damage strategy to work out. When it comes to your damage towers, though, if you're going to place them in there, putting them kind of in this little area right there where they're going to deal with the balloons and they're also going to deal with the mobs very well, very effective. You can also get some towers up there if they don't really, or if they ignore that line of sight. So you could get like an Archmage up there and it would be pretty cool. And then you also have your reverse motor and it used to be called like power core and reverse motor. I forget exactly what it is called now, but basically these slow down the balloons to normal speed, and then I guess it's the track extensions. The track extensions extend the map out, which is nice. You just gotta be careful not to use it a whole lot, or else it gets very, very, very expensive. So what I use for my first black border is perma spike. Obviously still very effective on this map. Just get the spike back there, get it like 205, out buff it, overclock it, and just get a bunch of stalls. So like right here, as you can see, a lot of mob presses. Push those BFBs back, BFBs and ZMGs, and you'll save some space and time. So quad is coming up next. Quad is often a very annoying map for other people. I honestly like it, to be honest. If you notice right here, you have no idea what's going on, no idea where things are leaking, and you can have fun with that. So you can also remove all these obstacles up here. I'll just do it to demonstrate it better, but one balloon is going to go on one lane and then 2 lanes, and then it's going to leak there, and then the next balloon that gets sent out goes 2 times around from the next starting position, so on, so forth. So they only will go around 2 tracks, 2 of the 4 tracks, and leak. This means that you are going to need a modular setup. So one at the top right and one at the top left is the most common. You'll see that a lot. You can do like some water strategies, but this is pretty much the easiest most of the time. Just get some village setups there, and then also spike factories at the end just to spike balls, out buff. That is very good for cleaning up stuff that leaks. You most of the time want to get your hero up at the top because of round 100. That's going to be coming from the top there, and usually the trickiest portion of the round will be there too. Spikes, well, I mean, not spikes, tack shooters are very effective. You could also do something where you have like a heavy damage tower at the bottom, and then a hero and some other like support at the top, or 2 damage towers like that. But you can also do a tack shooter spam, overdrive spam, which you might see an example from Dorio on quad later in the video. So that's a very, very effective strategy. You want to make sure that the tacks are underneath, and then you save room for like an embrittlement and stuff. But what I used for my first black border, again, this was in Mauler era days, was indeed mob maulers. You still can do this, I guess. It's just not as easy, but definitely as cool, if not more cool. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it if you want an easy black border. The overdrive with Gwen or Geraldo, or you could do like a modular robo, just something modular that works out well, or 2 damage towers that you can get good synergy when they're alone, will work out very well. So now on to Muddy Puddles. So this map is like Bloody Puddles, but a bit different. Starting off with lane 1, balloons will go down there, then go into lane 2, then lane 3, then lane 4, and then it switches back, going the other way to lane 3 with round 5, and so on and so forth. So it zigzags back from lane, and now this means that balloons will be coming from everywhere. So it looks like pretty much any damage tower with a finite range is going to suck, because you can't really deal with those balloons. But the cool thing is this is not the case, because in the late game, the only hard rounds that will come from there is around 91 and 97. Well, I mean, the only rounds, and those rounds are not particularly hard rounds, which means you actually can get away with just like using your hero and the mid-game tower. Like if you're using Comdef for mid-game, that will pretty much be able to beat those 2 rounds, which means that only you need to worry about these 3 rounds if you're doing like a damage tower setup. So you can get like Archmage right there if you want. That covers everything. You can get some support that will cover everything. And you just have your hero and like a mid-game tower, maybe something a little extra. We'll be able to deal with the 97 and 91 that come out there. That also makes it conveniently, if you're doing this strategy, kind of building like this, 97 and 91, one of the hardest rounds, which is kind of funny. I get a lot of runs on Muddy like that, but also if you want to fall back, definitely those infinite range towers work out well. The Hellies, the Apache Prime, Comanche Defense, Comanche Commander, the Subcom also is very good on this map. Subcom, you just get intel and it shoots everywhere. The snipers are good. All of those guys, pretty effective. You can do that too, or you can be really cool and build like a damage setup. So what I used for my first black border was the sub commander strategy. This is a video of a guide that I did like kind of right after I beat it for the first time, but this is basically what I had. We just had a bunch of subs in there, and they got infinite range because all the intel they're shooting around. Use Quincy for a Quincy early game. You'll see that a lot. It's Quincy early game is pretty easy, but there is some new tech, so you might be able to have an easier early game with a unique hero. But we just have that in first strike round 100, and that is a Muddy Puddles Chimps Black Border. Very cool map. I love it. It's great with challenges because of that aspect though. And now going on to Ouch. This is the last map. So Ouch is also a pretty simple map to understand. Balloons go in and they go out, and you get a bunch of water in the middle. So you have a few options when playing this map. You can either just do like a water strategy, so you could get like Brickle or Pat and place a bunch of water towers in there. You can do the water start and then get an ice monkey and get a village, and then you'd have like a combination of water and land too. You also can do that. So like I could do like a destroyer aircraft carrier mid game, and then get the ice and the village, and then place some stuff in there. That typically makes like the mid game a lot easier. But what you also could do is just like a full-on water strategy where I'll have like carrier flagship and pirate lord, for example, with Brickle. This will be very effective. It's just that you're gonna have a lot of abilities when you do this, but you definitely could do an approach like this. You also can do an approach where you don't use water towers at all. There's some specific early games. I think I showed it to you before in the early game segment, but with a bunch of dart snipes, you can beat the early game without using the water at all, and then sell it, and then you can have all of the land in the middle, which is very cool for a particular strategy, which is Grandmaster Ninja. Highly effective on this map too. So if you can get past that early game, you get rewarded with a really easy late and mid game where you just have Grandmaster Ninja destroying everything. Pretty cool strategy. So the strategy that I used for my first Black Border was indeed Grandmaster Ninja. Looked exactly like this, maybe a little bit different because this again was a guide from a later update, and just really easy. Round 100 maybe can be a little tricky, but usually if you have all your stuff, it's not that big of a deal. So that is Ouch. Really cool map, to be honest. I've had more fun playing it. So basically, in total, in summary, all of the expert maps are very unique. They require a unique approach. Also, a ton of strategies will work on all of the maps, but some of the maps favor some over the others. So let's move on to part 7, which is strategy 3. Alright, so let's get on to X Factor. Let me just do the quick little targeting to beat the early game here, and then we should be good. So just gotta do that quick micro, take out all those blues and reds and all that stuff. So it's strong. Now I can get my other dart. So yeah, I think a lot of people, they generally find it easier just to do the 2 darts for the start, but I find it more consistent. And I'd rather just do a little bit of micro and get it first try than having to figure out the placement. But you do whatever. And we're going to be showcasing the only Geraldo Sniper strategy this time. And this is quite the strategy. It's very strong and extremely versatile. So you honestly really can get it to work on pretty much everything. And although some maps it is a little bit harder, but it will pretty much get a black border on everything. And some people abuse this quite a little bit. So I'm just going to be showcasing it on X Factor here. So it's just getting Geraldo and a bunch of robos all grouped up together. I'll show you the method for that, but you do need quite a bit of cash starting out to go straight into it. So I'm going to go for, on this map, just a ninja will suffice. We'll get the upgrades for this guy and stuff, and we'll also get some Geraldo buffs. So the ninja's going to be doing a lot of work, and we'll eventually have Geraldo up. So let me grab Ninja Discipline, and then we'll get Seeking Shurikens up for 15-2. It's a pretty tricky round. These snipers, they're just going to be doing work. We'll keep them on strong. Had to micro them a little bit when needed, but the sniper's, not the sniper, this ninja is going to do a lot of work. So we really need quite a bit of an early game carry to be able to take out the early rounds here. I want to get Geraldo like sooner than later-ish, but it's not really the end of the world if Geraldo is bought late. Let's just do a little bit of micro on that sniper to get rid of those guys, and move on. I think I'm just going to get double shot, and yeah, just double shot, get Geraldo, and then get the full metal jacket so we can pop leads on 28. And one other thing that I need to know when you're building, setting up, I guess, like the early rounds for the strategy, it's that you need a lot of space, and you are going to need a triple discount setup, and you're going to be able to need to cram quite a few dart monkeys in there, because they will, the whole idea at least, is to cape a bunch of super monkeys. So, well, I mean, cape a bunch of dart monkeys so they then turn into super monkeys. Gotta watch out for this round here. Okay, come on. There we go. Let me pickle you, just so that we don't die. a little bit of a panic there. Maybe with some planning in your strategy that could be avoided, but I am doing this just one-off, no planning, because I am crazy like that, I guess. So yeah, let's get my count drops up here, and then I will be moving on. Round 31, I'm quickly just going to apply a sharp stone and a pickle here. So we'll have that up for all of, well, the sharp stone at least, for all of the 30s and into round 40. The pickle, you're going to go down, but we need to watch out, because this round 31 is tricky, so we should have that up by then. And then we'll grab Berserker Brew. That's going to give me a lot more power. And then next thing will be Bloon Jutsu. If you need to use a glue, we can use a glue. Glue is very, very strong. So we might be expecting to need a glue on round 36, because with the Jerry items being used in the early game, I know we want to limit it, but sometimes you still need to use a bunch of Jerry items to get by in the early game, so we may not have the cash just to get, say, a Bloon Jutsu, beat Bloon Jutsu and a Alk buff before 36, which is alright, because we'll just spend more money with the Geraldo glue. So round 36 is going to be coming up from these two lanes up here, I believe. So I will have my glue on hand. All these black balloons and stuff should be easy. I think I'm going to glue here from the bottom. Alright. There we go. Yep. So that's just going to make it so all of the ones from the top, they'll come down and they'll die. So Ninja can focus on those ones at the top before, and then we'll take the ones out at the bottom. And I can get Bloon Jutsu just at the very end, like that. Our lead is not super consistent because we only have one of these guys, so I'm going to cross path you, and perhaps just put a glue down right there too, which will also help for 37 and 38. Alright, nice and easy. For round 40, I'm going to see if I can get away with just one glue, but if I need to place an emergency maelstrom, we should definitely do that. It's better than dying, although it does indeed cost quite a lot of money, so when I can avoid it, I do like to avoid it. Alright, I will also be putting a pickle here on round 40, so that's going to stay up for trickier rounds coming up, like round 43 too. Let's see if we can get away with just a glue here. Come on, you better take this one out. Can I? I'm gonna spike, just in case. Okay, that was pretty close. I might have needed the mail. It might have just been safe, but I just went with one spike. I didn't actually need it, but yeah, that was a bit close, so having that on Q is good. I'm going to turn my auto start off so I can start with my villages up here, but I'm also going to need to get my sharp stone up, and just because we are really going for quite, we aren't going to be getting our damage up with our strat quite a bit because we do need to build the triple discount, I'm just going to get a Jerry Fire on you so we can do a little bit more damage. So let's go right here. Actually, what I should probably be doing is planning this out. So we need a glue, we need a bunch of dart monkeys, we also need an ice monkey in there eventually. So I'm gonna grab my ice like about right here, and I'm gonna grab maybe about, how many should we say? 5 super monkeys? Yeah, that sounds good. So we're basically cramming all of these 000 towers in here, because you'll see in a moment when we get a discount, we do need some more money. Also, it does look like I will be getting a glue here. Around 43 comes from these lanes. So let me glue that, just to make some of these trickier rounds a bit nice and safe. But basically, when we use the cape, these guys are going to turn into super monkeys, and normally super monkeys have huge hitboxes. But when they're dart monkeys being transformed into super monkeys, they turn into small towers, so you quite literally can cram a lot of everything in. So I'm going to save this village. I'm going to buy the regrow blocker just so we save it for camo, because I do need to get camo on one of these guys. We can get the other one with range, and the other one with jungle drums. So we just need to make sure everybody's going to be in range of camo guy and range of drums, so they get a little bit of everything. But now that we have triple discount, these are going to be extremely cheap, packed, and efficient robo monkeys. So they're just going to be all together, and unlike another build, or like any other build that would involve a bunch of robo monkeys, these guys are all going to be under the triple discount, because normally, let me get my Jerry Fire back. I just struggling here a little bit, but once we get it going, it will be effective. I will also glue here on 47. Yeah, I'll glue. But once we get them going, they're going to be strong, and they're going to be very cheap. Do I need a spike? No, I'm fine. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, here is the first of many to come robo monkeys. So basically, for the cross path, the Sharpstone was nerfed, so I'm generally just gonna get one 032, just so that we can deal with like purples and stuff, and then the rest are going to be 230 for damage, and also they can pop some DDTs. So I'm going to, just for the sake of being able to pop the purples and slowing down the balloons, because that's also what the 032 can offer, I'm going to go for the 032 first. Leads and stuff really aren't going to be much of an issue, so no reason not to get it first. Also, I can take auto start off. This first mob, we don't even have a robo yet, so I'm going to get glue here just in case we need it. We should be good there. Nice. And 6,000 bucks. Nice. There's our first robo. I'm going to set the other targeting just to close to make it a little more consistent. And are we good here on round 51, because I don't have camo on the other guy yet? Looks like I am. I'll get camo up after. And then we can also get camo on the other village, so other robos will be able to get it. But also, if you might notice, the glue is in there. I might just set him on strong for later. And the ice, that's because we also want to pack a relentless glue and an embrittlement, which will be, they will come and play later. So it's looking pretty good. And I'm going to get another super monkey. As you can see, they are indeed packed right in. Round 59 will be obviously an issue, because I don't have any camo lead popping power at the moment. So before that comes in, we can just quickly grab a radar scanner. So now our guys will pop lead, camo lead consistently. Technically we can with the AMD, throwing it on these guys, but that's just not consistent. So let's get a plasma blast before that comes up, and our radar scanner. Nice and easy. And of course, we will be getting these upgrades to bring this guy to a super monkey. Next really round of concern is going to be 63. I'm just going to sharpstone and glue that round just to be safe. On some easier maps, it's probably just going to shred everything. And honestly, even without that stuff, this strategy might shred everything, but gotta be more safe than sorry, especially on these harder maps. You definitely don't want to be restarting these maps like 20 times. Alright, so round 63 is coming up. Let me just go Sharpstone on that Ninja, Sharpstone on that Super Monkey, the 032, and we'll also just get some glue in here too, just to slow some stuff down, and we should just destroy everything. It's going to be fine. 2 tubs of glue, I believe, should just get everything right. I think it, yeah, look at that, gets everything. Very nice, very easy. As long as you put it at the beginning of the track, it should work. Now, we can get Geraldo Bunny. I might as well, so let's just get that. And then while we wait for the next ones to come in stock, I will grab yet another Super Monkey. These guys are just so cheap. You don't want to get like too many because then you won't have enough cash for your support and Geraldo items in the late game. So 5 at most really is what you're going to be getting. 6 starts to really cut it, because then you aren't going to have the money that you want to buy your Relentless Glue and your Embrit and your Geraldo items, perhaps like even a Sabo or whatever else you want. So I'm going to be coming back. We'll have Geraldo Bunny, just because Geraldo Bunny is pretty cool, pretty good for the cleanup, and we'll also have some more Super Monkeys. We have our Ultra Plasma Thing of Death. I'm going to get a few shooty turrets. I could have been buying these things earlier. Once you hit level 13, they actually become really strong, and they're really cheap just to spam for some extra damage. So, I mean, might as well go for it, because why not? These guys also are surprisingly good against Super Ceramics. It may not really it may not really look like it, but with the Ultra Vision knockback one and just 4 other plasma beams of death, I guess it's 8 more plasma beams. They kind of just like insta kill the Super Ceramics, and it's really nice. So you really won't really come into an issue with it. But basically, as your Geraldo items start to come up, you can get them going. The upgraded fire potions, they'll last for 10 rounds, so you can buy them once around 91 hits, and they'll be up the whole game. So as you can see, those Super Ceramics, they aren't really going that far. But got our shooty turrets, they'll just add some damage. So I got my Relentless Glue. Might as well be able to buy a primary training for you two. And I'll get my Embrittlement. That's going to help out quite a bit there too. And then we're going to be pretty much spending a lot on Geraldo, because we got a lot of towers and they all want some Geraldo buffs. What I am going to avoid is Alk buffing these guys, because they really just don't get the best benefit with Alk buff. It's more worth it spending your cash elsewhere, like getting a Sabo or such. Maybe some Moab presses too. So I can get another turret here. I'll grab a Sabo up too. And also, we're going to be spending a lot of money on the the Jerry Fires when that comes up. So there's also going to be the shop reset once Geraldo hits level 20. So we'll be able to spend all that cash here. Might as well Sabo some of these DDTs, just because they are DDTs, and we don't like DDTs. So they're taken out. Pretty nice, pretty easy. I can get camo pots on some of these guys too, just for extra range and extra camo damage. Pretty good, pretty effective. Let's grab these Geraldo Fires too now. Great. And then we'll get a whole bunch more when they come back up. But they do indeed last 10 rounds, which is nice. So I have that one Sabo. That's going to be doing pretty good. Round 92 should be easy. 93, I'll just Sabo those. We'll also be getting our reset on the shop, so we can go and just spend all of our money on more Geraldo items, which will be pretty nice. So that's just going to go down. Let me at least make sure I Sabo these DDTs first. Very nice, very easy. So let's go. Let's put camo pot lots more of these guys. I might as well put it on the glue, just so the glue gets more range, which is always very effective. Let's just, come on, get in there. Jerry fire a bunch of these guys, always good. Grab more shooty turrets, extra damage, why not? Very nice, very easy. Round 100 is a concern too, so probably going to be having to swarm round 100 with rejuves. Should be fine though, so we'll have cash for that. So let me just grab my swarm here while I'm at it. You can also have it help against the DDTs a little bit. Rest of round 94 should be fine, and then I should just be able to use a genie. Actually, we're good here, right? We are, yeah, we're good. I could have had a snail on hand just in case there. That probably would have been a good idea. So for round 95 here, oh, I forgot the Sharpstone. We can put our upgraded Sharpstone on these guys too. That was something not good to forget. Okay, so these DDTs are going to be coming in, and I, for one, will sabo them. So I don't want them getting anywhere. If one of them looks like it's about to leak, I could spike storm it too, like that. Oh shoot! Oh yeah. It might have been more safe just to rejuve that too. Okay, so I'm gonna save my double genie for round 98, which would be good. On maps where the balloons aren't like literally gonna be shifting around all paths, having your spike, these guys are just super good. They're really underrated. The Geraldo spikes at max level, they can just like eat a lot. So luckily round 96 is pretty chill here. A lot of times you can just do a 95-96 genie, and that's going to work out very well. Can I get more fire? Yes, I can get more fire. Firing it up in here. Nice and easy. Also, I am floating a bit of cash. This definitely could be spent on something. Should I probably... Will I? You know what? I don't know. Could get like presses or something with that money. But let me double genie this. I guess I will, just to be safe, I will get a few presses out here, and I'll sabo just to space up 98 a little bit, and I'll get that glue too. There we go. I just need to make sure I'll have cash for my rejuves on 100. I also will put down these creepy idols because they are very effective, but it's nice and easy. You can also put down Geraldo glue too, but we should have our rejuves up, our sabo up, but nice and easy. These guys are holding back some of those ZOMGs, so they aren't going anywhere, and everything's just getting wrecked once it gets past the dome with the genies and the robo monkeys. So that's a very nice, very easy round 99. Sabo, come on, you're not going anywhere. Alright, those DDTs are done. And round 100, I don't have any genies for here. What I do have is a whole bunch of Spike Storm. So let me take that out. It would have probably been better to spend my cash there, but so let me just smell those insides too. Come on, don't go anywhere. I can sabo that too, yeah. So that round 100 was a little bit chaotic. It might have been on other maps. That round 100 would be better because the bad doesn't really have much track length, and I probably should have had something more than that one spawn. But we could have used more of our abilities. So I mean, that's the Robo spam. I first tried X Factor with it without like any planning. I know a lot of people like spend weeks on this map just struggling, but that was just a first try. Just hopped on, beat it. This is just a strong strat. It's really versatile. You can put it anywhere, as long as you have some space to put stuff down. But you can also just use like Jerry 2 Robos and you don't have to do the full spam like Jerry 2 Robos and then just put another tower in there just to fill in the gaps for some weak points on some of the harder maps. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really strong, and don't use this as your only strategy, even though it's very tempting, because then then you only know how to beat chimps with the one strategy. Alright, so if you haven't noticed, this episode is going to unfortunately have to be split into 2 parts. Well, maybe fortunately, because you get a lot more information. So just expect more expert-worthy strategies and tips in the next few days. It will be in the first pinned comment with all the other episodes and stuff when it does come out. And if you're just watching here and it's not out yet, you can subscribe and turn on the notifications so you'll get notified when it comes out. As I'm working on all of the compiling, it won't take that long, maybe 2 days-ish, and then it will be out. So that will be nice and easy. But in the meantime, I have a bunch of really cool challenges and strategies that you could watch and give it a go on some Chimps mode. So that's all. Bye, and here's the end screen. Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!